Hello, welcome to episode 200 of the Epic Film Challenge 2. 1,000 more movies you must see before you die. Takeaway 1, I'm now 20% of the way there. It's taken a while, it's really taken a while. My goal of finishing this before I was 30. Maybe 35? I don't know. So
at this pace, yeah.
At this pace, yeah.
It's been how many years?
It's been a few years.
Yeah, that's 20%.
Yeah. Well, anyway, right, so we're here to talk about 1982's Blade Runner, a film that didn't do too well when it first came out. Didn't make much money, not a lot of people liked it, and it's gone on to be one of the most revered sci-fi films ever, I think. Which is interesting. And it's even the same with The Thing, which I think came out in the same year, like a horror classic that just didn't do very well when it came out. What was it with 1982 and great genre movies that people don't get when they first come out? Blade Runner. Where do I even begin with this? I first saw it in 2013. I bought the VHS when I was like 8 or 9 from a second-hand shop. I've told the story before, but just for posterity. Took it home, put it in, and was bored shitless by it. 20 minutes in, I thought, I'm just disgusted by how boring it was. I turned it off, I took it back to the shop, I said, I want to sell this. And they sold it, they bought it off me for maybe a third of what but it just ripped me off, basically, so that was fun. But I was expecting, hey, it's Han Solo, it's Indiana Jones.
I'm imagining an 8 or 9-year-old walking into a shop, this is rubbish, give me my money back, I want to sell it.
I was timid as a mouse, I probably went, can I sell this, please?
Oh, right.
Yeah, there's no way I would have even begun to act like that. But yeah, I was expecting something like, oh, it's science fiction, it's Han Solo, it's going to be amazing. It just bored the life out of me. Came back to it many years later and was just like, wow, that was great. And then I showed it to you. I think you enjoyed it, and I've watched it probably every year since then. The new one just came out last week. We watched it a few days ago. But before we watched Blade Runner 2049, the night before we watched Blade Runner again, the final cut, which is the only cut I've ever seen. I'm not going to really go into all the various cuts and stuff. I've seen the original ending, where they drive off, and it's just like, what? Just very, very doesn't feel
like the same movie.
Yeah, it really doesn't. And the voiceover is just, I need to watch it. I need to give it a chance and watch the theatrical version, but I've only ever seen the final cut, and so is Connie, I guess.
Yeah.
So the story follows Harrison Ford's character, Rick Deckard, a Blade Runner, a police detective who tracks down replicants, these androids who are meant to replicate the look of a human being, and there's a few that have gone rogue. And it's kind of implied that he's retired from that life and he's pulled back for one last job. It's like classic film noir setup, detective has to come back for one last job to take out these people and find them and do all the detective work and stuff. And there's murders going on, that kind of thing. But it's all set within this dystopian Los Angeles 2019. Everything is just just society is encroaching on itself. There's just the whole movie is so claustrophobic. It's just set within these it's all at night as well. It's mostly raining, neon signs everywhere, dark. Like that opening shot with the the industrial just hell, just these massive towers and flames and stuff, and it creates such a believable world. There's no frame in this film that doesn't feel like it belongs in that world, and you believe in everything that you see. And that's one of the best things about the film, is the world it creates and how successfully it creates it. You got people like Douglas Trumbull working on the film, people like Sid Mead, the people who worked on the production design, the concept, the artwork, everything that created the look of the film is almost the best thing about it in a lot of ways. And the story is fairly simple, but it's the dressing around it that is so interesting. But also you have the themes, which are very deep if you think about them and look into them and things like that. And the idea of a soul and intelligence and things like that, artificial intelligence, obviously, and these replicants, or at least the main one, Roy Batty, played by Rutger Hauer, he wants more life. He wants to experience more. And that line, I think, therefore I am. You have these replicants who are built for a purpose to do this job, and they decide, well, what if we don't do this job? They decide not to, and then they start killing people. And so I love how there's shades of grey. They're villains, but they're not villains, you know. It's almost a childlike sense of not knowing their own power because they're only a few years old, really. So if you were to have this intelligence that's only a few years old, is it really aware of everything it's doing being right or wrong? But then there is this highly accelerated part of the intelligence with Roy Batty where he is really a thinker. And Rutger Hauer is so good in the film. What do you think, anyway? I rambled on.
Well, you know that I love his performance.
Yeah.
Like, I think his performance is the best in the whole movie.
Yeah.
Like, it tops Harrison Ford.
Easily.
And everyone combined, I guess. It's just something about him. Like, he's not, like, overdoing the villainy side, because he's not really a villain, but he is, you know? And so you kind of almost root for him, though you don't. He's like the Joker.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yep.
He doesn't... Yeah. Well, you know, I love the movie. It's great every time I watch it. I might even get a little bit greater every time I watch it. I don't know what to say. It's just one of those movies where you try to find something negative about it in order to say something about it because everything is so great and
right.
You can't just say everything. And that's why when you asked me the other night, so I just think it's great, it's just great. It's like a perfect meal. It's like, what's good about it? Well, everything. Stop asking me.
Well, I was intrigued, you know, because you'd only seen
cinematography, especially, I absolutely love. It's like every freaking shot is amazing in this movie.
Yep.
The lighting is great. I love how they use the rain, and then you have the lighting in the rain. And
I wish that we'd had the time to watch the making of before. I've seen the making of. Connie hasn't, but I mean, we need to get the video done. But we started watching it last night, and there's a great line where Ridley Scott was like, "My weapon was the camera." Like he really wanted that film to look amazing, and so the
and it does.
Yeah, the cinematography is fantastic. There are films that have like great shots in them, like oh that film had that great shot, and there's some films that have more than a few great shots. But this one is just like every 5 or 10 minutes there's like a really like knockout great shot, but just generally
maybe even more than that.
Maybe even more than that.
It's from 83, right?
82.
82. So just the effects.
Yes.
Alone, like thinking about how long ago they made this, and they managed to pull off all those special effects.
Yeah.
In the way they did, it's really impressive. Which makes it even better because
it does. It does.
You can't compare it to movies nowadays because you have all this free stuff that you can do, but back then, pulling off something like that. Really impressive. I
mean, with Blade Runner 2049, we won't talk about that very much, but like obviously most of that stuff is CGI, but it's like some of the best CGI, and so it looks great. And it's worth saying that CGI it's not easy to do. You know, there's still so much work that goes into it, so it's not like corners are being cut. But when you do it practically, you can just tell, like it's tangible. You know that you could reach out and touch that model. You know,
it's like Alien.
Yeah, it's very much in the same vein as Alien with that kind of stuff,
and
the production design, and you know matte paintings, and just and how they didn't have computers to kind of seamlessly blend everything. They had to do it so precisely, and the sets that they built, like everything, and the lighting, yeah, just
everything from scratch.
Everything from scratch, and you could just keep going on and on about how great the film looks. The music, the score by Vangelis is just unbelievable. Like that that first track when the film opens is just one of the best pieces of music in a film. It just gets me so into the whole mood of everything, and it just enhances every moment. I just love that music. It's so fitting to the world, and again, it's the world building, and it's a film that's very slow. I've heard someone describe it as languid in pace, and it kind of is. It really takes its time, but if at any point the plot is maybe lagging a little bit, or things are taking too much time to kind of get going, and you are watching Harrison Ford sitting in his apartment for 5 minutes just looking at a picture on a screen, then I can look at the little finer details of his apartment. I can look at the light filtering in through the window, or I can listen to the ambient sounds of his apartment, or the sound effects of the picture thing as it's clicking in on the photo that he's examining in excruciating detail. There's always something going on that keeps my attention going.
I actually quite like that scene.
Yeah.
It's very like investigation mode, and it builds up in a way. Like, it takes a while, but you get to see, like, okay, so this is why we've been watching this picture for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
You know?
It takes its time, and I love that about it, because I don't love slow-paced films too much, you know? I do have kind of an issue with patience sometimes if something takes its time, but there's always something going on, and I just, yeah, it's one of those films that it kind of flies by, even though it's really slowly paced. Like, when we watched this a few days ago, got to the last 10 minutes, I was like, wow, it feels like we only started watching this half an hour ago. Like, I just enjoy it so much. It's one of those films. Harrison Ford is very good in the film, but it's a very restrained performance. It's a very introspective performance. And again, I've recently in a video, I think last week, someone was saying that he has the charisma of a plank in the film, and that he's so boring in it. But I think that that's kind of, you can look at it like that, but I think he does a really good job. There's something about it, like...
Doesn't he always, though?
I suppose.
I mean, if you compare it to Star Wars and Indiana Jones, there's always some kind of, like... something holding back.
A restraint, yeah. He has that about him.
I think it's his age, to be fair, because seeing him now older... I think this happens to a lot of, especially male actors. I don't know why male, but it's just something about them. And whenever they get old and wrinkly, there's something that happens to their acting. And it gets pushed over the edge in a way.
I think his acting's a little bit better in 2049, I have to say, but that comes with the character having aged 35 years and having more emotional baggage. But I think that there's something to be said about playing something very restrained and making it... I don't know, I think he's really good in the film. He's not amazing, obviously, because that's the nature of the performance. And that's something I want to talk about, but we'll get to that in the spoiler section. So, Sean Young, who plays Rachel, does a very good job too, though again, she has a difficult part because she's playing someone who is a replicant.
Who doesn't know she is one.
Yeah, and then when she does, it's like this confusion, and again, this restraint as well. I think she's very good. I enjoy her performance in the film. A lot of the other smaller, supporting characters I enjoy, but mostly it's just that world and being it. Like, it's not very appealing. It's dark, it's dingy, it looks dirty, uncomfortable. Again, it's just like overpopulated. But I'd love to like live in that world for a bit. Just to, I don't know. There's just something alluring about it. When we went to,
with how claustrophobic you are, I don't think you would.
I like it. It's just something. Yeah, well,
let's just go to Tokyo. It's the same thing.
It's just something intriguing about it. I love the idea of the Chinese influence becoming, an Asian influence becoming a big part of the city. I think that's kind of, I mean, they've done that quite a bit in science fiction, but I think it's quite well done in that film. When we went to New York a few years ago, we were staying in a hotel just outside Times Square, and one of the first nights we went out to Times Square, not the first night, but one of them, and it was at night, obviously. We're in Times Square, and I was still overwhelmed by it. I remember looking up at the skyscrapers and my knees kind of feeling a bit weak. Like, there was just something about it. I'd never seen buildings that big in that much quantity. Like, it was kind of overwhelming. And it started raining. And I just felt like I was in Blade Runner. Like, all those advertisements and stuff. It was just so cool. So there's just something I like about that look for some reason. Even if it's probably not the most appealing. Anyway, so...
It looks cool on camera.
It looks cool on camera.
But it's never nice to be out in the rain.
Right. Well, we're close to the hotel. We're going to get soaked. I kind of liked it. Anyway, going off track. Yeah. Blade Runner, it just becomes more and more one of my favourite films every time I see it.
It's in the book, right?
That's what
This is episode 200. Yes, yeah. It's in the book.
Yes, it is.
Idiot.
Well done.
Thank you. Cutting it.
No, I'm just giving you a sarcastic round of applause.
I thought you were cutting it.
Oh, and just for the benefit of anyone who doesn't want to be spoiled for whatever reason, don't know why I'd be watching this long, but yeah, Rutger Hauer, for me, I think is one of my maybe like top 10 favourite performances ever. He can't be in the film for longer than half an hour, if not 20, 15 minutes. Like, he's not in the film that long, but every scene is so enjoyable and so interesting. Like, I just like looking at his face, seeing what he does with his eyes, his lips, just like the tone of his voice, the way he delivers lines. And again, little comparison to 2049, you look at Jared Leto's character of Wallace, who's essentially the villain. He has not similar dialogue, but it's this kind of a soliloquy, like just a character kind of speaking out loud his own thoughts and stuff. And there's a way of doing that well, and Jared Leto does not do it that well. Rutger Hauer makes it seem so effortless. Like, he has this kind of philosophical dialogue, but it's so interesting the way he delivers it. And it's so believable the way he delivers it. He has such a charisma about him. I mean, you look at the...
Huge difference.
You look at the final scene, obviously, the Tears in Rain monologues, one of the greatest kind of little deliveries in movie history. But even outside of that, he's so good. And that character who, towards the end, is like literally losing a grip on his life that he wants so desperately to have more of, and the way he plays that is just great. And the legend goes that he rewrote that scene the night before.
He's great.
Yeah,
he's just. I'm shaking my head, not because I disagree, it's because yeah, I agree. He's great.
And and it's interesting again comparing those two, because Jared Leto, acclaimed Oscar-winning actor, and then Rutger Hauer, who appears in stuff like Hobo with a Shotgun. It's just really intriguing, but it's just one of those kind of just lightning in a bottle magic performances that has been captured for people to enjoy forever, which is just awesome. Alright, is it a film you should see before you die?
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think? Of course it is. Absolute yes. So, little brief spoiler talk.
Oh god. I thought we were done.
No. So, the big question, the mystery that has prevailed for over 3 decades, is Deckard a replicant? What do you think?
I don't know.
You don't know. That's a good answer. No, it is.
No, because do replicants age?
Yeah. I see no reason why. I mean, if they're synthetic, I think they're meant to.
Bleed.
And they bleed.
Yeah.
I mean, they're built to kind of. Now that's something that a lot of people seem to throw out there as this. There's no way Deckard could be a replicant because they have a 4-year lifespan. Remember, it's like, well, no.
He was made different.
Yeah, I mean that's an option that he was made different, but also they say in the beginning of the film, these Nexus 6 models or whatever they are, they've been made with a 4-year lifespan to kind of control their, because it says that the longer that a replicant lives, the more its intelligence kind of evolves and so on. It becomes more aware of things and so on. So that's why they built in the 4-year lifespan. So that is if that's a Nexus 6 or whatever the model was, then there was other models that didn't have that lifespan, and so that's why they get tracked down by Blade Runners and so on.
They want us to believe that he is one, but...
Right, well that's the thing, because the different cuts of the film, in the final cut and in Ridley Scott's redo of the film, he makes it more explicit by having the unicorn dream sequence, which apparently was not in the original film, which is to me the biggest clue. But also, now this could be quite controversial, because I think the one scene that a lot of people don't like, and rightfully so, is the love scene between Deckard and Rachel, when he basically forces himself on her, which is not the most comfortable scene to watch. To me, it plays as if this is someone who hasn't really done this before, ever. Maybe he has memories that he has, but it's just this awkward scene where these two people don't really know what to do. And when he goes to kiss her, he's looking at her, which is always creepy when someone's got their eyes open when they're kissing someone.
That's what psychos do in other movies.
And psychos too, yeah, but I mean, there's no other kind of indication in the film that he's like that, so it just doesn't really make much sense to me to
it's really odd.
Purposefully portray that, unless you believe the stories that they hated each other on set, and it was just this like legitimate, uncomfortable experience for both of them. I don't know. But that to me, in my own mind, is kind of part of why maybe he is not normal. Obviously, I think in the final cut they added his eyes glow red for a certain scene as well. It's certainly implied.
Yeah, true.
But, you really can look at it either way, and that's another thing I loved about 2049. They kind of get onto the idea of revealing it, but they don't, so it is really up to you. And it doesn't really make much difference either way in the grand scheme of things, but also it does if you think about the character. And that final scene on the rooftop when Roy Batty is dying and Deckard is looking at him and kind of having this realization about what this replicant is going through and feeling, and what it is to be human or not human. And again, that artificial, if an intelligence is artificial, does that mean it's any less valid? Like if you create basically a human brain, it does everything the same, but it's being created by, not evolution, but by man. Does that mean that intelligence, which can think and maybe even feel the same way as a regular human, does that mean that they haven't got a soul? Or does that mean they haven't got the right, And I just love that idea of this artificial intelligence who just wants more life, and he has such wonder about life. But at the same time, he's someone who's murdered people. Some people say, oh, Roy Batty becomes the hero at the end. Well, not really. He still killed people. He was a ruthless bastard. When he kills his father, his creator. He also kills Sebastian, He didn't deserve that, Sebastian was a nice guy.
Sebastian was nice.
Yeah, and so he's not quite the hero that some people perhaps might think he is, but it does reverse the roles a little bit, and you do look at Deckard as maybe not the he's more of an anti-hero than a hero in a lot of ways. But he's not a villain either. So shades of grey, you know, the characters are all interesting, and Sebastian was an interesting character too. I thought the actor who played him was very good. Didn't really touch on him. I thought Daryl Hannah was really good as Pris. And I never really noticed before, it's really stupid of me, but when we first see her, she's outside Sebastian's apartment, and she gets down in the garbage and stuff, and I never thought about the fact that she's planting herself there to meet Sebastian. I never thought about it. I literally thought that she was lost, like actually lost, and was just kind of like, didn't know what to do.
Well, the last time I watched it, I was so sleepy, so I didn't really think about anything that I was watching.
Right.
But when I saw it now, and she was there, and then when he came over to her, and the way she was talking to him, like, well, obviously she planned herself
I don't know why it never
crossed. We're really scared of each other there.
and to be honest, I felt, well, in that sense, I felt like she was taking an opportunity. Obviously, I understood that she was trying to get him to invite her in. But
yeah, but you knew that she was with Roy.
Yeah, I just didn't think about it.
And that he heard the name Sebastian.
I literally thought they'd been separated, because they talk about how there was like those 6 replicants or 5 replicants, they escaped and one of them died or whatever, and they've all split up. So I thought that had happened and she was fending for herself, but obviously he must have told her where the Sebastian lives, because that's part of the plan.
How many times have you seen the movie?
4 times, I think. So yeah, that is what it is.
Yeah.
Just happens sometimes. You miss these
obvious.
It is very obvious. I agree.
Makes me question you a little bit.
Anything? I like the guy who plays Tyrell. I think he's an interesting character as well. And
the father.
Yeah, and that idea of meeting your maker is a really interesting one. And that scene, and it's very gruesome when he.
Prometheus. What?
Right, exactly. Although I would say this one is done a bit better, and just the desperation of him wanting to get more life, and Tyrell's like, nope, we've tried everything. You ain't getting more life, you know. It's just, yeah. So, fantastic film, one of my favourites, and the sequel's pretty good too. Here we go. Here's one thing I can say. I love the scene when he's tracking down Zora. The chase sequence is done so well, like through just
completely forgotten about that.
Just through all the people and stuff, the way it's directed, and the Atari signs are quite funny as well. I like that.
Oh, they kept that in 2049. I like that.
Yeah, that was kind of fun.
Maybe Atari will come back now.
And but that scene when he shoots her and she crashes through that window, and it's just such a beautiful, like with the kind of fake snow in the window shop, and then the shot of her splayed on the floor with the glass and the neon reflected, and like just amazing cinematography. Just what a way to make someone getting shot and falling over and dying look incredibly cinematic and artistic, and yeah. And in the final cut, they digitally put the actress's face on there, because in the original it was a stunt woman, and apparently it looked really obvious. So they got the actress to come back and do like some kind of digital face recreation, which you can kind of tell, but I like that they did it actually. And that's an interesting thing, is that, you know, you have the Star Wars special editions. I won't take too much longer, don't worry. You have the Star Wars special editions, and just really like those CGI additions to Star Wars, not to get into a whole rant about them, they don't fit the rest of the film. Like, they're so, it's just like chalk and cheese, like it just doesn't look good. In the final cut, that's how you do it properly, just like slightly augment stuff, you know. I mean, there's the shot where Roy Batty lets go of the dove and it flies up and you see it go up. In the original, it looked a lot more plain and just, yeah, but they had made it look a lot more kind of cool. I like that stuff when you can make those changes, but it fits. You know, nothing screams, oh, that was done 30 years after the fact, you know. So it's tastefully done, and I like that. And also I like that they give you the option of watching the other 5 versions if you want. It's not like, okay, those versions never existed. So this is an example of doing a special edition or director's cut the right way, in my opinion. So, yeah, there we go. And nothing more to add. 200 episodes down. A lot more to go. So, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you with the next video. We end on a yawn. Alright, thanks for watching. Goodbye.